Okay, well, we got another one here today. This is the Extend-A-Hoe part, the insert of the Extend-A-Hoe. I think it's off of, it's off of a, I'll bring it in a second here. It's off of a 410 series John Deere backhoe, I believe. It's pretty heavy. And you can kind of see over in this area here what happened. I'll kind of zoom you in. Actually tore the mount out for the pin. Let me bring you in here and just kind of show you what's what. Okay, there you go. Let's see, let me zoom this in. Obviously this belongs in here and it's not there anymore. They literally tore the thing out of there. I'm not sure how one would do that, but they did it. This, of course, let me see if I can do this one-handed here. This kind of fits in here, and you can see, oh boy, well, it was fitting. There we go, kind of like that. And there, that's how it fits. And as you can see on this side, it pulled so much that it actually cracked and took this whole thing. Let's see, there's no way to open up enough here, but this thing is kind of going that way due to the amount of torque and twist, as you can see here, the way they ripped this thing out of here. So naturally, with it being all pulled apart, naturally they brought it at night, of course, and they want it fixed. I forgot what they said this piece would cost to buy from John Deere. I think they said it'd be about $3,500 or $3,800 or something, and of course they'd have to wait for it, so naturally it's, you know, they'd like to have it fixed. Now the thing is, when I saw it the next day in the daylight, I called them and explained to the customer that since this thing here, you know, the way it ripped out, you know, the way it pulled this, well, you can see just from here, you can see the difference, the amount of space. Let's see here. You can see the amount of space difference between here and then on this side. This side is, well, close to what it should be when you drop it back in there. This side, however, is not, due to the fact that, you know, it must have torqued to the side, obviously, when it, you know, when it pulled and ripped. So what I did was I explained to them that as far as putting it all back together, I won't really be able to do that because I'm assuming you'd need many hundreds of tons of force to kind of squeeze this thing back to where it belongs. Well, they didn't seem to be, you know, they don't seem to mind that. They said they would just like to have it pretty much back working again, and they don't care about the fact that it's, you know, it's going to be slightly torqued that way. So I told them essentially all I can really do is, yes, I can weld this thing back in there, but not much more than that. And I mean, naturally I told them I'll do my best to get the thing pretty well squared up, and you know, naturally I told them, you know, I'll do everything I can to get it in there, you know, as best as I can, so that it won't rip out. And then of course I'll do what I can, you know, I guess I'll gouge that out and whatnot, and I'll do what I can to get the thing pretty well punched in there. Now I can't reverse build this thing. Obviously this plate on top went on after this, you know, boss would have been welded in. So again, I explained to them there's not going to be a hell of a lot we can do with this. So that's essentially what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to try to put this thing back as best I can And then again, once it's relocated close, as close as I can make it, then I'll go about maybe gouging out and and then again I'll do my best to punch the whole thing back in there, and then I guess this won't be too big a deal. I can heat this up. I explained to them I don't want to attempt to put any heat on this to try to pull this back, because all too often when you do that, you turn the thing, you know, into a piece of chewing gum even after, you know, after you're all done with it, and it's going to be much more prone to bending and this and that. So I didn't recommend that to them. So that's what I'm going to do here, is I'm just going to attempt to put this thing back as best I can and get it punched in there as, you know, as well as I can, and they seem to think that they're going to be just fine with that, so I'm just going to do what I'm told. So I'll bring you back when I can. Okay, I've been messing around with this thing. I did the other side, did a little along the top here, did a little bit in here with the air arcing, and then I ground it. This thing is heavy, so I don't want to have to move it too much more than I have to. But essentially, as I was saying, I don't want to get carried away with removing too much of the actual original nest of this thing, because again, with it being so screwed up, I want to try to get it back in the spot that it was. So what I'm doing with the air arc is I'm essentially just trying to remove the weld, the factory welds that held this thing in. I'm not trying to actually change the dimension of the hole. It's not like I need more room, you know, to fit this thing. So I'm just essentially trying to gouge, skim along, and remove some of the factory weld that's, you know, on a bevel. So now the other, like I said, the underside is done. The top is pretty much done. I've done some grinding, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually grind this. I'm going to check in here. I don't know. Let me zoom in. I don't know if this is good or bad. This looks like just a paint crack. As I grind it, I'll find out for sure. And then I'm just going to essentially grind this thing clean, and then you know, start fitting it up. Like I said, I just don't want to change the actual the location too much more than I have to here. It's bad enough already, so I don't want to lose the location. I don't need to do any heavy you know, heavy removal of material in here. I just want to clean this thing up. Like I said, I'm just removing the weld, because essentially that's what I'm going to do, is just replace the weld. That's it. So I just wanted you to have a more of an up close thing. It's hard to do up close with the air arc, because I mean, it's, you know, it's really crazy flying stuff around, you know. So I just wanted you to see that. All right, so we're all prepped up now. Everything is arced out. Everything is, ground and cleaned up. And again, I'm not removing too much metal here from anything. Like I said, I'm just essentially, I wanted to just get myself some room, excuse me, just to weld here. So now, I guess it's decision time as to how. I just got it thrown in here, actually. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna place it precisely, but I just got it in there. I guess essentially it's just gonna come down to looking at it by eye and trying to center it as best I can this way and get it even as best as I can that way, and then put a few tacks on it. Pretty much it's going to go from there. Now, like I say, it's decision time as far as the process I'm going to use. Obviously, they used naturally wire feed MIG from the factory, of course, and I understand that. And I'm thinking I might do a little of that because, I mean, it's clearly, a fill it up situation. Which naturally, MIG is great for that. And we have large gaps here. So it's a fill it up situation. And, but the thing is, I like the punch effect of a good, low hydrogen weld. So I'm not exactly sure. I mean, maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little of both. Maybe what I'm going to do, I'm clearly going to start with MIG just because we have large gaps and I don't want the crowding, slag crowding of stick. But again, I like, for something like this, it's a very heavy weldment, it's a heavy component, I like stick. So like I say, I think I'm going to start with MIG. And then maybe we'll see how it goes. If it looks like it's really punching in there to my satisfaction, then I'll continue. If not, I may start doing the low hydrogen shuffle here. We'll see. Now keep in mind, this thing was welded, obviously. Again, the whole thing is all, it's all squirted with wire, of course. And by the way, this is not, I can understand why this thing is so expensive. This is not a piece of square tubing that they altered. This is a fabricated weldment. This is all made from plate and welded together. This is this is a weldment. This is not, like I said, this is not a piece of tubing. And then they, trim the end and this and that. This is all fabricated from plate. And again, like I say now, it was, of course, welded with MIG. And now I would by no means call this a weld failure. I mean, this thing was clearly, doing something it shouldn't have been doing. Either they got it wedged between a rock, or they were obviously trying to lift something that was too heavy. Who knows? But now, like I say, I'm not calling this a weld failure, but I'm just wondering why it didn't tear more of the metal around the weld than the weld itself. So again, I guess that's kind of where my mind is at insofar as, to punch something in, I still like the stick, a low hydrogen, to punch something in there. So anyway, like I said, I'm definitely going to start with MIG, and we'll see from there. But I got to start somewhere. So maybe it'll work okay, and we'll go from there. We'll just you know, weld it completely out with MIG. That would be nice. You know, no chipping, no, you know, no nothing, you know, just keep welding essentially. And like I said, it is a fill 'em up situation. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start with the MIG and we'll take it from there. I'll bring you back periodically and you can watch some of this. All right, I've begun the welding, like I said, with the MIG. Let me zoom in here a little bit. There we go. Even obviously where I had the huge, you know, huge gaps, big enough to stick 2 fingers in, the MIG was able to to bridge that with not too much, you know, boiling or bubbling, because, you know, naturally that would have that would have ended that. But and then down in here where we didn't have a lot of gaps, it's really punching in there quite nicely. Even up in here where, again, you know, you had almost, you know, 2 fingers wide of spacing, it went in there quite nicely, and it's really punching in. So I think I'm gonna stick with it pretty much for the whole way. I tacked everything up. You can see I even tacked this part. And you know, I was going to call it the top. I'm not so sure if this is the top or the bottom, actually. I actually tend to think that this might be the bottom and that this might be the top. I don't actually know. Assuming the way, you know what I'm saying, the way this thing ripped out, I'm assuming this is the bottom, actually. So anyway, yeah, I've done some on the other side, and I'm very happy with it, because that was the huge gaps there. But it's really punching in there nice. You can, you know, I can feel it, you know, as I weld it. It's really smashing itself in there. So I think I'm going to be happy with that. And of course, the time savings, you know, the no entrapment of slag and, you know, this and that. It's you know, because this is a fair amount of welding here, and you know, so I'm going to stick with that. Like I said, you can see here. It's you know, it's good. So yeah, let me set this up and you can watch me do a little welding here. Okay, so we've been welding around on this pretty much. Done this side. Now this was the side, obviously, with the tear. Let me focus out here. This was the side with the tear. I think we're going to call this pretty much completely done. And I'm working on the top now, or the bottom as it might be. This was the better, I guess, of the 2 sides. So that, I think, is pretty much, I'm going to say that's completely welded now. And the only thing left is the top. I've got that. I had a root pass, 1 stringer here, 1 stringer here. I practice what I preach. I always say, you know, stringers, when you have a stress point or something like this where you know you've got a lot of stress and this and that, stringers is the way to go. And that doesn't matter whether you're stick welding, MIG welding, it really is the way to go. As you can see, let's see, you zoom in again here, all stringers. Naturally I had to do some filling, of course, but you know, root pass, one on one side, one on the other, you know, then come back, put one in the middle, which was what I did here. One pretty good one around the middle, and then one to the top, and then one around the bottom, or the inner and the outer, as the case might be. So like I say, same thing. I do practice what I preach, as I said. Same thing here. You can see again, you know, same thing. Filled it up, and then of course, you know, stringers, you know, and then, you know, and it'll kind of wash it. You could, in other words, I did the same here with the crack, you know, that open part. You know, you saw the way I had it all arced out. I cleaned all the snot out of it with the grinder, and yes, I did cap it with a big weave because I had it in position, I had it laying down. But again, I filled it up nice and hot to the point it was bleeding through, you know, and then, you know, one on one side, one on the other, you know, one down, you know, one in the middle, and then I floated it all in. Now I don't even know if I'm going to do that here. I think I'm just probably going to kind of probably put, you know, kind of just do this with stringers, because I've got three now. I've got a root pass in there, and then I've got one on this side, now one on that side. And, you know, again, since it's in position, they're sitting down pretty well, you know, and again, I don't need, you know, I'm not really worried about, you know, the appearance on this. I'm fairly confident I know how to weld. I don't need to, you know, to make it pretty. Those days are over. So, I'm, you know, function is what it's about for me, especially since I told him you know, I'm not overly impressed with doing this sort of a repair anyway. You know, I would like to have this, you know, I would have liked to have had this thing pressed first, and then I would have liked to have had a much better fit up. But, you know, I play the hand I'm dealt. I do what I'm told. You know, that's what they want, that's what they get. But, you know, I guess I should be happy that they're confident enough in me that they felt, you know, that would be sufficient. So, so anyway, so I'm just going to continue with the welding, and then I think I'm going to finish nailing this up, and then I'll take care of this last. I'm sure I'm going to have to wind up heating this, and, you know, and banging it back, you know, banging it back into position. But even there, again, like I said, I don't know how much function it's really going to have anymore. But, you know, again, I'll do my best to, you know, to really come in and nail it in hot in there, and you know, and again, you know, we'll see what comes of that. I'm fairly confident, you know, it'll be of some help. So I'm going to finish up, and I'll bring you back when I'm all done. Okay, gonna let that cool down a while, and then just a little bit of grinding on the one part there where I see another little crack, and then gonna nail that in. Bring you back. Okay, well, I think that's just about going to wrap this up. I was able to heat and bend back the pieces that were here, and then I just did my best to, you know, weld everything back in. built it up. I was even able to tie the sides in here. You know, I shaped it as best I could, blended it. That's about it. Let's see, you saw the top here. You know, again, stringers throughout. This side here, this is where where it was really, torn. We've got this all pretty well nailed back in. I fixed the crack and the tear as best I could. Over here, this side wasn't quite as badly damaged, but still, just about the same type of deal. I guess that's about it, really. I don't know what else we can really do with it. That's about it. I think that's going to pretty much wrap this up as far as this Extend-A-Hoe piece for this John Deere is concerned. So that's about it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy what you see, subscribe, I guess, and I'll try to keep putting more of these as I go. And that's about it. So thanks again for watching. And as some famous guy once said, everybody polka. See you next time. Bye.